Have you ever looked at your revenue numbers and thought, things should be getting better by now? The sales are up, the team is busier, customers are coming in, the company looks healthier from the outside, but internally, something feels off. You still hesitate before making major purchases. You still feel pressure when payroll approaches. You still watch the bank account more closely than you'd like to admit. And despite all the growth, you don't feel financially secure. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. One of the most common mistakes business owners make is assuming that growing revenue will automatically solve cash flow problems. It sounds logical. If more money is coming in, shouldn't cash flow improve? Not necessarily. In fact, many businesses experience their greatest cash flow stress during periods of rapid growth. That's because revenue and cash flow are not the same thing. Revenue is what you sell. Cash flow is what you keep available to operate, and there is often a massive gap between those two realities.
A business can look successful on paper
While struggling behind the scenes. A business can report record sales while feeling financially fragile. A business can be growing and still be one bad month away from a serious problem. This happens because growth creates demands. Most business owners focus on the upside of growth. Very few focus on the cost of growth. Let's imagine you own a service business. You've worked hard to attract new clients. The effort pays off. You suddenly land several new accounts. Revenue jumps. Everyone celebrates. Then reality arrives. You need additional staff. You need more software licenses. You need more support. You need more management oversight. You need more systems. You need more infrastructure. The expenses show up immediately. The revenue often does not. Many clients pay 30 days later. Some pay 60 days later. Others pay 90 days later. So while the business looks bigger, the pressure actually increases. This is one reason so many growing businesses feel stuck. Growth creates obligations before it creates relief. The founder expects growth to reduce stress. Instead, growth often introduces new stress. Another reason revenue doesn't automatically fix cash flow is because revenue can hide operational problems. When business is slow, weaknesses are easy to see. When business is busy, weaknesses often get buried under activity. The team is rushing, orders are moving, customers are calling, projects are launching. Everyone feels productive. But underneath the activity, small issues begin to compound. Invoices go out late, collections become inconsistent, projects take longer than expected, margins begin shrinking, communication breaks down, the owner becomes overwhelmed. None of these problems appear in the revenue number. Revenue simply tells you that something was sold. It does not tell you how efficiently it was delivered. It does not tell you how profitable it was. And it certainly does not tell you when the money will arrive. This is why many founders become trapped in a cycle of chasing revenue.
Whenever pressure appears,
The response is, we need more sales. Then more sales arrive, the pressure remains. So they chase even more sales. Eventually, they discover that the issue was never revenue alone. The issue was conversion. Not converting leads into customers, converting revenue into usable cash. That's a completely different challenge. Think about two companies. Both generate $5 million in annual revenue. On paper, they look similar, but Company A collects quickly. Customers pay on time, processes are documented, expenses are predictable. Management has visibility. Cash remains available. Company B struggles with collections. Projects run over budget. The founder approves everything. Reporting is inconsistent. Customers pay late. Despite having identical revenue, the experience of running those businesses is completely different. One owner sleeps well. The other owner lives under constant pressure. The difference isn't revenue. The difference is control. Cash flow improves when a business becomes more predictable. Predictability is one of the most underrated advantages in business. Predictable revenue, predictable collections, predictable delivery, predictable expenses, predictable operations. When predictability increases, decision-making improves. The owner becomes more confident. The team becomes more efficient. Growth becomes easier to manage. Cash becomes easier to forecast. Without predictability, every month feels like a surprise, and surprises are expensive. This is also why businesses that rely heavily on one customer often experience cash flow instability. The revenue looks impressive. One customer may represent 30%, 40%, or even 50% of total revenue. Everything feels fine until something changes. The customer delays payment. The customer reduces orders. The customer leaves. Suddenly, the business discovers that revenue concentration was actually a cash flow risk. What looked like strength was really dependency. The same thing happens when a business becomes dependent on the founder. The founder approves every decision. The founder handles every problem. The founder manages every important relationship. The founder becomes the system. At first, this seems efficient. Over time, it becomes dangerous. Because every bottleneck eventually affects cash flow. Projects slow down. Opportunities are missed. Decisions are delayed. Execution becomes inconsistent. Again, the problem doesn't show up in the revenue report immediately, but it eventually shows up in the bank account. This is why smart operators focus on more than sales. They focus on structure. They focus on systems. They focus on visibility. They focus on operational discipline, because they understand something many business owners never learn. Cash flow is not merely a financial outcome. It is an operational outcome. The way a company sells, the way it delivers, the way it invoices, the way it collects, the way it communicates, the way it manages people. All of these factors eventually show up in cash flow. That's why simply chasing more revenue rarely solves the problem. Revenue is important. Growth is important. Sales matter. But if the underlying structure is weak, growth often magnifies the problem rather than solving it. So if your business is growing, but you're still feeling pressure, ask different questions. Where is cash getting delayed? Where are decisions getting stuck? Which processes are creating friction? What operational weaknesses are being exposed? What dependencies still exist? Because the goal isn't simply to build a bigger business, the goal is to build a stronger business. A business where revenue consistently becomes cash. A business where growth creates stability instead of stress. A business where financial confidence comes from structure, not hope. That's when cash flow improves, and that's when growth finally starts working for you instead of against you.